This episode of the Infamous Podcast is brought to you by CBS All Access. Looking for a new streaming service to add so you can watch more stuff? Check out CBS All Access. Hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS and you can get a free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and check out things like Star Trek Discovery, Picard, Survivor, all the other cool stuff that CBS has to offer. Star Trek Discovery, I said that already. You should really watch that. So hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS to learn more. Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is episode 240. This is Brian. I got Darryl with me. We're talking
for life.
For life. Are you in this for life? Man, damn it.
Bad Boys for Life.
Anyway, so we're talking Bad Boys for Life, or like I said to you earlier, Bad Boys 3 Life. We've got PS5 news. We've got what else? Oh, my tablet just closed. We got HBO Max news, and we got Joker news. Did I miss anything?
Batman.
Well, I mean, that's all part of the Joker news, but all right, let's kick off. How you doing? How's your day? How's your week been? You were supposed to come record with me here in the studio, in the Nerd Den studio, and you're like, "No, we got to do it remote. I have to work."
Yeah. Well, no.
With your
so
job.
That wasn't the reason. It was because I was supposed to watch Bad Boys last night.
Yeah.
Went to the gym. I went to the gym, to work out. And then I had 2 classes, including conditioning class, and I was wiped. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to pay attention to this." So.
Well, that's all right.
I went to bed early.
I started watching it at like 10:30. I think that's when I texted you, said, "Why is this movie 2 hours and 4 minutes long?" And I fell asleep with like 27 minutes to go. I woke up around 3 and watched that last 27 minutes, and then went to bed. So
it's funny that like we were about to watch it at the same time.
Yep.
Like, and then I was like, I turned it on. The credits started, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it."
Nope. So, all right, cool. So before we get started, check out our Patreon, infamouspodcast.com. So that's Patreon. Thanks to Julian Brown from A Strange New Pod and Everything is Permitted for your continued support each month. And yeah, let's as Phil DeFranco would say, let's just jump into it, right?
Let's get it on. To quote Mills Lane, one of my favorite referees of all time.
There you go.
My favorite referee of all time.
Or 3, 2, 1, dodgeball.
I know a lot of people are going to be like, Mills Lane, who in the hell is that?
Yeah. Wasn't that
showing my age there?
Yeah, you are. All right, let's talk PS5 first. So Sony just had a major event today, which is why we decided to record a little bit later than we normally do.
Woo,
so we could finish it out. All right, so TLDR, it looks like a weird spaceship building type thing.
Mm-hmm.
People on Twitter are already tearing it apart by taking like pieces of white paper or envelopes and taping it to their modem. A lot of old like tower PCs are being shared. Someone made it an aircraft carrier. Someone just put a picture of a white 3-ring binder up. And then someone did a funny meme. It's hey mom, can we stop and get a PS5? No, we have PS5 at home, and then at home it's a picture of an Xbox 360. So which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I really like the design though. I mean, I love the controller.
Yeah,
I love the controller. I actually like the design, probably because it's different from the last few PlayStations.
Exactly.
All the other PlayStations, for the most part, have been like this one tone. And again, don't get me wrong, I like the PS4 from an architectural standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I do have the Glacial one. I have the limited edition, so it's better than the normal. I have, I'm going to that's my flex right now.
Do you have the Pro? Do you have the PS4 Pro?
No, I do not. So I can't flex with the Pro.
I kind of I didn't get the Pro, and like, because I got it as a Christmas present, and I had been like saying, well, hey, I want the Pro if you get me one, and she didn't, which is fine. But I'm like, if there's a Pro version of this, I'm gonna probably wait. I'm not gonna get the digital edition though. I'm gonna get the one with the optical drive.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to talk about, the normal and the normal versus the digital. And I like the idea of the digital, but I don't think I'm going to go that route.
Well, I mean, we still have a ton of like physical discs. I haven't
Right.
fully integrated every movie to being digital, but even with that, it's all on iTunes, so I wouldn't be using PS4 for that or the PS5 for that anyway.
But to that point, it's going to be backwards compatible, and I do have probably a dozen games that on disc.
Mm-hmm.
So before I actually saw the light and start getting stuff digitally.
Yeah. So it said it's going to cover a majority of the 4,000 current PS4 titles.
4,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
didn't even know.
I mean, it's an old system. I mean, it's like what, 5 or 6 years old at this point.
Well, I got mine in 2014, and I think it came out in
2012, something like that. Yeah, so it's like 8 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
It's time for an upgrade. But yeah, I'm excited. I think I like the Verge article I'm looking at, and I'll link to in the show notes, says that without the optical drive, it looks substantially thinner than the regular model. I disagree. I mean, it just it
doesn't look substantially thinner. It does look thinner. But
it's just got an added like hill to it with the optical drive, and it still looks very beautifully, just kind of laid out in there. It's a very utilitarian looking device, which I appreciate.
I'm really curious, though, the price differential between the normal version and the digital edition.
I imagine the normal edition will probably cost between $100 and $200 more than the digital edition. My concern is the storage limits.
Right.
And it's got a proprietary solid state drive.
Yes.
With it, so I don't know what that means, but it says you'll get a boost in load times for games. But
absolutely.
It says that it's going to provide 825 gigabytes of storage and 5.5 gigabytes of performance. Sony's requiring that all games are installed to the internal SSD to make use of the read speeds, which is the opposite of how I use my PS4.
See, that might be a problem there, especially if you have a lot of games and like, for example, today the PS4, but Call of Duty had probably a 30 gig download, and every season they have this 30 gig download. Mm-hmm. But what they did do is they used some previous assets, which made it take up, I think they said, only 4 gigabytes on the actual drive itself.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how, excuse me, because a lot of these games are going to be massive.
Well, like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a 100 gigabyte game. I did not get Red Dead Redemption 2 because it was a 100 gigabyte game. I didn't like I might as well just go get a dedicated external hard drive just for that game, right?
Well, you know what I did? I installed a 2 gig hard drive on my PS4 internally, but I also got a 4 terabyte, 2 terabyte hard drive internally and a 4 terabyte external hard drive.
So I mean, I have the 500 gigabyte internal and then a 2 terabyte external, but I don't have as many games.
You got the baby one.
Well, again, I didn't buy it. Yeah,
I'm kidding. Well, that's what I got when I bought it too. So I'm just messing with you right there.
Did you go to GameStop to get that, or did you do it yourself?
Yes, I got the games. I went to get the PS4.
To get the 2 terabyte one installed internally.
Oh no, I did that myself.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I know a little tech stuff. I know some of that.
I have to talk to you about how you did that, so I can do that. But no, I mean, I would fully expect this to be a 2 or 3 terabyte device.
I would think so. Yeah.
Especially with how storage is getting to be so cheap every year, how much cheaper it's getting. So I think that's the one thing that concerns me, is that it's the proprietary SSD solution. And, what does that mean for 4K games that are going to be even bigger than HD games? And
right.
Like I imagine The Last of Us, games like that are going to be huge because they're these big open world concept games.
No, Horizon Zero
Dawn. Yeah, we were just talking about
Forbidden
that,
West. And well, Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's going to be open world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be really. And then there was, I don't know if you saw the very mysterious and confusing trailer for this game called Pragmata.
I did
It doesn't
not
come
see
out
that
till
one.
2022.
No. Yeah.
It looks like a mix between and the guy I listen, like one of the YouTubers I listened to said, it looks like a cross between Death Stranding and Inception. I have no idea what it's about, but it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. Speaking of looking gorgeous, the controller.
Yes.
I think the controller gets better with every generation.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like the Slayer. To each generation, a controller is born. And then each one is better than the last. And I mean, this is definitely a work of art. My concern that I have with the controller is the triangle, square, X, and circle buttons. They look like they're completely flush to the side there, where it's like I really like that they stick up a little bit. So we'll see. Yeah, I like that they moved the speaker on top of the controller though, and then
instead of on the bottom.
Yeah, and then the PS button is just the logo. It's not a big circular button, so you're not going to accidentally hit it.
Right.
I'm constantly accidentally hitting that button during gameplay.
Oh, I've done that during a gunfight in Call of Duty, so that really sucks when that happens.
I'm sure your clan enjoyed that when you did that.
Yeah, dude, so. I'm a lone wolf.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I did not realize. Anyway, so yeah, I think this is good news. I want to know when it's coming out. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was announced coming out this holiday season.
Oh man, that looks really good.
Yeah, too. Everything I've seen of that looks pretty good. All the Unreal Engine stuff that they've been running with the new Unreal Engine stuff on there is really good. Yeah, I don't know. I like all the ambient light that's gonna come off of this thing. It's a really interesting device. I think that we're just scratching the surface of what the PS5 is going to be.
Oh, absolutely. And like we said before, we started recording, this will be probably the first PlayStation. Like I'm trying to think back that I'm going to get not a year or two after it's come out.
Yeah, I've never gotten one on launch, and I'm typically an early adopter for things with things like the PlayStation. Or the gaming consoles. I've always been leery of getting right away, just so that they can work the bugs out in that first generation or that first shipment. So.
Yeah, I think I might have gotten the PS3. Like on launch, because I know I got it in Walmart of all places, because nobody else had any. I think, or was that I actually no, I think it was a bundle, a special edition bundle I got there. Yeah. So it was a little bit after it come out. So
I don't know. I loved the PS2.
Yeah.
I mean, before the PS4, I think it was or I don't know if it still is the greatest selling console of all time, but I think the PS4 might have passed that. But yeah, I still have the PS2. It's down in a box in the basement because
I still have mine.
I pull it out every once in a while to play the real Star Wars Battlefront 2, so I can go on some Ewok hunts.
Ewok hunts?
Oh yeah, that was my favorite game mode. And the actual
You're a monster.
The flight, the actual combat and flying battles were far superior to what they've given us on the next gen consoles. So
which makes no sense.
None whatsoever. All right, so let's jump from a device that will stream things to a streaming service with HBO Max.
Speaking of not making sense.
Yeah, I was about to say HBO Max just launched. It didn't really launch with a whole bunch of new stuff. Love Life, the Anna Kendrick show, which has been really good. So they put out the last 4 episodes today. I haven't watched them yet of the first season. But I've dug it so far of the first 6 episodes.
Right.
It's a very interesting, Sex and the City-ish kind of story without, being Sex in the City.
It reminds me a lot it reminds me a lot of High Fidelity from Hulu with Zoe Kravitz. Like another show that I really enjoy.
I still have to watch that because I love the book and the movie so much. But I'm a big fan of Zoe Kravitz, so that's not what's holding me back. It's just a matter of sitting down to watch it, because
I understand.
I don't know, are the episodes a half hour or are they an hour?
Yeah, they're it's very same format as Love Life.
Okay, so I'll definitely check that one out soon. But the big thing about HBO Max that's kind of the head scratcher is they're already pulling some of the top DC titles off of the service starting July 1. And that means, and I'm going to say top titles, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek when I say this, but it's Justice League, Batman versus Superman, Poop of Justice, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Catwoman, Jonah Hex, and The Losers. And this Deadline article that you shared with me says, but don't fret, they'll be back. They shouldn't be going away in the first place.
Why are they going away in the first place?
They're getting rid of the DC Universe app, standalone app, at some point in the very near future. They just canceled DC Direct or DC Daily, whatever, the daily DC talk show that was on there. Yeah, so, but again, and this Deadline article makes a point to say you can still watch Aquaman, or Underwater Black Panther, Shazam, Joker in quotes, Green Lantern. I'm not sure why you'd want to watch that, and the old Supergirl from the 80s with Helen Slater, which is actually not a horrible movie, but yeah, I'm
not sure about that, but I agree with that.
And then it says here there'll also be a new batch of DC films hitting HBO Max in July and another in August. What are the other DC films that are going to hit in July when these come off?
Maybe
there aren't that
Harley
many.
Quinn?
It's not. Maybe, but I mean,
maybe.
Probably not, because it's
that'll probably be August.
New. Yeah, it might be August at the earliest.
Yeah.
But it's not Marvel. They don't have 22 movies in the can to do this. And, let's be honest, of the movies that are coming off, Wonder Woman is the best one.
Yes.
Of that lot. Suicide Squad is probably after that. I think what they need to do is leave Justice League on there so as many people can watch it as possible, and leave it on there when the Snyder Cut comes out next year, so I can sit there with my tablet with the original cut, and I can have the Snyder Cut on my 4K TV, and I can compare.
Right.
Plain and simple.
I do not get that would be like Marvel saying, okay, you know what, let's take off Ant-Man, let's take off this, let's take off Incredible Hulk, or Hulk's not on there, I don't think, actually.
No,
let's
the
take
Incredible
off
Hulk,
Iron Man, or let's take off 5 or 6 of our movies.
Yeah.
Like you said, with Marvel, though, they could do that because they would still have 14 or 15 movies.
Right.
DC does not have that in the bullpen.
No.
So it
like,
makes
and here's the thing, is The Losers, Jonah Hex, Catwoman, and the Burton verse Batman movies have nothing to do with the DCU. They're just DC titles. Leave them up. Like, you can take Catwoman down. Who cares, right?
You can burn that.
Jonah Hex. I never even bothered to see Jonah Hex because I didn't think Jonathan Schaech was a right person to play Jonah.
I tried watching that. So. Yeah, that's
The Losers is a awesome cast in a relatively bad movie, but it's still fun to watch. Because I mean, The Losers was not a great comic book. Let's just be perfectly honest there. But yeah, I don't understand why they're doing this, and why you would do it so soon after launch.
Yeah,
makes zero sense.
And again, I know this might be a little different than other things, but I mean, they're also, and again, this is a little different, but like, it's funny, they're like removing Gone with the Wind for various reasons.
Okay,
they're going to bring that back too, though.
Well, they are, but they're making a little like vignette to go in front of it to talk about how like this was a different time, which I'm fine with, right? Like, but my big problem is the guy who directed 12 Years a Slave is the one who really pushed them to get it off of the platform. All right, when directors of other movies start saying, "Hey, this movie has to be censored, or this movie has to come down, or this or that. It's like, all right, how are you going to act, or how is your estate going to act in 50, 70 years when someone's like, well, 12 Years a Slave turned out to be whatever. That can't be shown on whatever, mind's eye streaming services that we have in 80 years. I'm not okay with that sort of thing. And, Gone with the Wind is a seminal American film.
Yeah, this is the problem I have with me. They're basically saying, you all are stupid, so we have to put something ahead of this. Because, again, this is a movie that's made in when was that made? In the 39 or something like that?
1932, I think. Something early 30s.
In the 30s.
In the 30s.
In the 30s. Again, and when I have conversations with people about most stuff, you have to ask, what is the context of this?
Right.
This was not made last year. Okay, this was not made 2 years ago. This was made in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And people should have the intelligence to understand that.
Yeah.
Obviously, with a lot of stuff going on, we're seeing that people don't have the intelligence, and we're seeing the HBO and the executive obviously don't have the intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just for Gone with the Wind, but for moving their DC movies. It just, again, I don't know necessarily if these are the same people. These people are the same that are making these both decisions.
Yeah. So you're right. It was 1939, and they took it down for a denouncement of the movie's racist stereotypes. Now, Hattie Mayfield was the first black woman to win an Oscar for this movie. Clark Gable took a stand on her behalf because they weren't going to let her come to the Oscars to accept her award. And Clark Gable's like, well, if Hattie's not going, I'm not, or Hattie McDaniel, I'm not going. And this is a seminal American film.
Absolutely.
Right. This is Citizen Kane is considered the greatest film of all time, which is arguable, but that's up there. Casablanca is an amazing movie. The Godfather, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Godfather movies, it is a seminal American film, and this is in that conversation.
100%.
And the thing is great. It's got these horrible stereotypes in there. Absolutely, I'm not going to disagree with that, but when you erase that sort of thing, we are destined to repeat those mistakes. And I think I'm fine. Okay, HBO wants to put a disclaimer before it, but it's going to be like a video. It's not just a title card. Here's the thing: when you put that up, do not let people skip that. Make it a non-skippable thing where you have to sit and watch it.
And again,
because then it'll
thing,
bring home about, hey, that's why this is bad.
Okay, again, it goes along with the lines. If you're going to do this, you also better say, put credit to Clark Gable with what you said too.
Oh yeah,
because that if you're gonna just do something, which again, it's my opinion, I think it's dumb because I think people are smarter than that. Mm-hmm. Although again,
no, people are not smarter than that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So
and
tell
the whole story.
Yeah, and don't just demonize people in the South, because in there is a long tradition of that Southern belle, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea of the Southern gentleman, and it's not an awesome culture. Don't get me wrong. It was filled with a lot of hate and a lot of things that obviously wrongs that we've tried to right, wrongs that we failed at righting. But at the end of the day, this is a work of fiction.
Yes.
And let me reiterate that. This is a work of fiction. And so I think, I think the fact that this has jumped to the number one movie on Amazon for purchase, it says a lot about what people think about the film, and it is a favorite. And the woman who wrote the book was very racist, and it's not an excuse, and we're not making excuses for it, but it's an important American film that people need to see, even though it's forever long. And it just
I will say that,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
as I will say, I love what you said about the history and repeating. And I implore people, read history. Don't listen to the news. Read the history of some of these things. And I'm not going to get into some of the things going on today. Read your history, like not just history from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the history from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Because a lot of people don't understand like some of the stuff going on in the background, and not conspiracy theory. I mean, actual history of, who created this, who founded this, and what were they like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, don't just take what you hear, from, newscaster for granted.
Right.
Because I know a lot of schools now aren't teaching history. Well, they really aren't.
I mean, so Joe Rogan talked about this a while ago, is like, you can blame the Daily Show for a lot of the state of our news media, because it was never meant to be a news show. It's a satire.
Yeah.
Just like the Colbert Report was. And it's one of those things where people started getting their news from, and now people are going to John Oliver and Trevor Noah like they're giving actual news, and they're not. They're giving actual opinion. And, while they're, I think John Oliver is entertaining. I stopped watching the Last Week Tonight when all they did was talk Trump, 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 because it's annoying and I don't want to hear about it. I don't think Trevor Noah is funny. I never have.
He's not funny at all. He's not. At least I've chuckled with John Oliver.
Yeah. John Oliver, you'll just laugh out loud, especially like the antics when they sue people or they buy IP to mess with people. But like Trevor Noah, like once had stated about, and I'm just going to paraphrase because I don't have the exact quote in me, like talking about how it's pretty funny that people talk about the United States as a country when it's really 50 little independent countries. No shit, dude. That's how it was set up. Like each state has its own set of law and governor, and like the people who are like everything has to be the same across the country.
No,
like that's like a strong federal government, and that's not what the country was set up to be.
That's not what it was.
And we're not a history podcast, and we're not a political podcast. So I'm going to stop talking about this right now, and I'm going to jump to the next rumor that's happening. Is there's a rumor that the Matt Reeves The Batman is going to be a trilogy. So let's not pretend like this is set in stone. So I mean, if it does poorly,
if it bombs,
it's not
we don't have to worry about it.
But they're rumoring that they're going to have a new Joker, and so this is kind of one of the main things I wanted to talk about. Enough with the Joker. We don't need another Joker. It's overkill at this point. Heath Ledger played a version of a Joker. Jared Leto played a version of a Joker. Joaquin Phoenix played the idea of a version of a Joker. Jack Nicholson actually played the Joker.
Yeah, and again, that's not even taking into account the quote unquote Joker-ish characters from Gotham.
Right.
So we do not need. And again, I understand that Joker and Batman, they're peas and carrots with when you're talking about that character. However, there are plenty of villains in Batman's gallery
we have
that
never
you can use.
Okay, and I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon of Batman's rogues gallery. For years and years, there has only been talk about how Batman has the greatest rogues gallery of any comic book character, right? Part of what makes Batman so great is his rogues gallery. Have we ever gotten a Clayface in a movie?
Other than the comic or other than the cartoons.
No, in the movies, no. Clayface is one of the best Batman villains. Firefly is a great Batman villain that could be done very well in like a more realistic version of Batman. We haven't had a good Riddler. We haven't had a good Two-Face.
We had a decent Riddler in Batman v Superman. I'm sorry.
That was Alexander James Luthor. So it's one of these things where now this is 100% rumor, right?
Yeah.
But here's the
because they even mentioned Bane in that article too.
Right. Oh yeah, we had
resurrect Bane.
We had a version of Bane. We've had two versions of Bane. Neither one of them were remotely close to what Bane should be. but enough of the Joker. Like, there's too much of it. The movie Joker was so overhyped and so, in my opinion, underwhelming. Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for a role that 7 different guys in Hollywood could play.
Well, this is where we differ in a little bit. We're similar. The movie itself, I wasn't, I thought the movie was decent. I'll watch it again. I didn't buy it. I'll watch it again one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Joaquin Phoenix was phenomenal in it. I don't know about the Oscar version part of it. That's always dicey with me, who wins the Oscar, just because, I know I haven't watched everything, and a lot of times it's the hype itself that gets the rewards. That's why I never watched the Oscars, period.
Yep.
But I 100% agree. I thought that movie was absolutely overhyped. I was talking to my instructor yesterday, and I was telling him about the movie, and I said, I thought it would do okay. I did not expect it to do as well as it did.
Right.
But to the point of the Joker itself, we do not need, again, this is in 10 years we've had if you want to count Gotham, 4 versions of the Joker.
Yeah. I mean, plus we've had like all the different animated versions of him. Mark Hamill has been,
not even counting those.
Mark Hamill has been the absolute best. The guy that was Bender in Futurama, Joe, oh crap, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But the guy was the voice of Bender in Futurama. He did the voice of Joker in Under the Red Hood, and it was amazing. And it was a completely different version of the Joker than what we got from Mark Hamill, which in my mind is like Kevin Conroy, the one true Joker. Like we got kind of a version of Poison Ivy. I would like to get like the more fanatical eco-terrorist version of Poison Ivy. I thought Cillian Murphy, however you say it, was a really good Scarecrow, but like they used only part of him, and they didn't go far enough. We haven't really gotten a real Mr. Freeze.
Okay, everyone, chill.
I feel like Danny DeVito was a really good Penguin.
Penguin. Yeah, he was.
I don't want to see Colin Farrell as the Penguin, which that's who the Penguin is in the first movie.
I just not seeing that. I mean, I like Colin Farrell as an actor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing him in that role.
I'd like to see like a real Bane come into play. Like the real methodical, like venom toting Bane. Black Mask was one of the few bright points of the acid trip that is Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Catwoman's never gotten a really good movie, other than, Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. My boy Deadshot, let's give him a fair shot or a fair crack at it. Deathstroke we could use, but I feel like they kind of wasted Deathstroke on the show Arrow. Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange is a fantastic Batman villain. That adds an entirely different psychological level to Bruce Wayne's psychosis.
Yeah.
Hush, which I guess they introduced Tommy Elliott at the end of Batwoman. Which again, why are you giving Batman's like core like modern story to someone else? I don't understand.
They did that with Supergirl too.
Yeah, but Hush is something that should be done like way down the line, right?
Yeah. Which like the whole Bane, or not the Bane, I'm sorry, but like some of those characters, I would say Bane, especially Deathstroke. Like even if they used them, you could use them down the road. But you wouldn't want to use them early on. No. And like they said, like I know this is rumored, but it was saying that they were going to introduce the Joker possibly in the second movie. Which
no, just don't use the Joker in the first 3 movies.
Don't use the Joker. Just
Mad Hatter. We haven't had the Mad Hatter.
Yeah,
we haven't had Man-Bat.
Again, we've had this similar conversation when we're talking about Marvel and Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
It just leave off of Wolverine for a few years. Hugh Jackman just played him a couple years ago for a decade and a half.
Yeah,
we don't need Wolverine. We don't need him to be the centerpiece of the X-Men.
Right. Let's get ventriloquist. How about that? With Scarface.
I just love how you're just like spouting off all these names.
It's that Solomon Grundy. We haven't had Solomon Grundy ever. Like I think they used some sort.
They used him
of
in Arrow.
Yeah,
a version of him in Arrow.
But it's that. And then I mean these are just the top line ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But you've got other ones like Anarchy, you've got Brother Eye, you've got, Catman, which is, the mirror version of Bruce and Dick Grayson. Clue Master, and you could bring Stephanie Brown into it and add spoiler. You've got Copperhead, you've got Count Vertigo, who is, mainly a Green Arrow villain, but whatever. Green Arrow, the Arrow show took a ton of Batman villains.
Took a lot of Batman villains. Yeah.
They're in, what was it? Batman 92 came out this week, where they introduced Punchline, the Joker's daughter. So KG Beast. KG Beast is a fantastic character.
He was in. Guess what he was in?
Yeah.
He was in Arrow.
Oh, he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. You could do Ra's al Ghul again and do it right. And I don't know. So this is just it's a nit I just have to pick at, because there's too much Joker in DC. Just like there's too much Batman, to be honest. Like, I'd be okay if they didn't do any more Batman for a decade.
Yeah, I would be 100% on that. But
how about we get Superman right? How about we keep going with the Wonder Woman story the way it is?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I just, like, people, what they're thinking a perspective of, if we throw the Joker in here, people want to see that.
Yeah.
And in a way they're right. Some people will want to see it because there's just a Joker. Mm-hmm. Instead of, why don't you want to do this? Instead of just throwing that in there for the money's sake, why don't you create a compelling story?
How about you do Court of Owls?
Some of the villains. You know what? That was the thing I've been thinking about through this whole conversation.
So with Snyder and Capullo's run on Batman, with the whole Rebirth thing, and actually with the New 52, like, while you were reading that their work, you were invested, you were engaged. Mm-hmm. It was really good, but it's forgettable, right? Like, nothing that it wasn't like the old Chuck Dixon runs or previous to that, but it was all really, really good, and it moved the character forward in a much different way. Unfortunately, it was saddled with the disjointed post Flashpoint continuity.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, hey, just speaking of Flashpoint, like, they fired Hartley Sawyer, however you say his name, off of that. Why is Ezra Miller still allowed to work? They have videotape of him choking a lady to the ground.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that worse? As bad? Yeah. At very least, as bad. So
they fired him for something that he said 7, 8, and 6 years before he was signed on to the Flash. That's very important.
Yeah, just putting that out there.
But if there's something somebody said while they were under contract, I might not agree with it, but I could understand it more.
Yeah.
However,
if you're under contract, guess what? Your freedom of speech does not give you freedom of consequences. And as an employer, your employer can be like, I don't agree with what you said. I don't want to work with you anymore. I mean, that guy's never going to have a job ever again in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, because he's not like what you would call, a must-have guy.
Yeah. Right.
And so, like, but when you fire someone first of all, the producers of, I will say this, the producers of The Flash are cowards, for the simple fact that they knew that these tweets were out there.
Yeah.
100%. Because he got hired on in 2017. These tweets were in 2011, 2012, 2013. So several years before he got hired.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, then that's your fault for not doing due diligence.
Yeah. It's like John Campea said in his bit about it. Like, why aren't you paying some college kid $500 to run a background search?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's absolutely. This is what interns are for. Especially millennial interns.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought of another great one. Professor Pig. Professor Pig is amazing villain, Batman villain. Amazing Batman villain. That could be awesome.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. That's one of those.
You could go back and do Gotham by Gaslight. There's a very rich history of Batman that does not begin and end with the Joker. And the comic, for the longest time, like, there would be spans of like a year or two where you wouldn't get anything from the Joker, and then he would pop back up and ruin everything. Like, not ruin the story, but like ruin everything. And he's not like, like when he's in Arkham, he's biding his time. He's he's a master tactician and strategist, and he's just waiting for the right time to strike. Which is what Bane did. Like when you go back and look at Nightfall, like I think Nightfall is probably the most cinematic Batman story in the last 30, 40 years that they haven't even touched. And you could do Nightfall and then you could lead that into a Hush trilogy really, really easily.
Yeah.
And then you follow up Hush with Court of Owls as I mean, that's 9 movies right there that they could do.
Yeah, but we know that's, and again, this is based on if the first movie is going to do. So who knows what's going to happen with this trilogy?
The more I'm reading about it, like I don't care that Robert Pattinson didn't work out during Corona-cation. The more I read about it, I wasn't excited for it to start. But I'm definitely not like, ooh, the Batman. Where has this movie been my whole life?
Yeah, this is one of those movies where I'll see like, I'll check it out. I'm not excited at all.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, honestly, a Captain Marvel for me, where it was like, it's a Marvel movie, so I'm going to go see it, but I'm not excited for it.
And I think had the Planet of the Apes modern trilogy, gone out with more of a bang and less of a whimper, I might be a little more excited about Matt Reeves' vision.
The first two were so good.
The first one was so different and amazing, and what a cool way to start it off. And then the second one is the Empire Strikes Back of the Planet of the Apes movies, and then the third one is the Last Jedi of the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah. I still haven't watched the third one again. I need to go back.
It's not good.
I liked it. I liked it, but it did not. It definitely lacked.
Well, I mean, we talked about this on not you and I, but your predecessor.
But, yeah.
We talked about that movie, and it should have never been called War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that was very. Yeah.
It should have been called Prison Break for the Planet of the Apes, or something. It actually, what it should have been called is Planet of the Apes Contagion. And, because it showed what was happening with the virus that took away humans' cognitive ability and speech.
Yeah. That was mistitled. But hey, who knows what's going to happen with this? Hey, trilogies are bound, with the rumors of your favorite Mr. Johnson getting a Star Wars one, but we can talk about that next week.
That's still like, I don't believe that'll happen. I don't think I don't think enough people will go see
I don't think
a Ryan Johnson led movie. And the fact that the rumor is that it's going to revolve around Broom Boy, get the fuck out of here. Get out.
Yeah, I read that and I laughed.
I felt like as I was reading that, I'm like, wow, this dude who's writing this article is trolling everybody hard. Because nobody's going to see a movie about Broom Boy, especially and I love Rey. I think Rey and Kylo / Ben Solo Ren are the lone bright spots of the sequel trilogy. And Poe and Finn should have been right up there with them, but the second movie killed their characters, just killed them to the point where they were more comedy pieces than anything else in the Rise of Skywalker.
Watching Last Jedi again after we talked about this is a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because it has some very good moments, but the fact that they screwed Finn like that and just made him a punchline, it reminds me in a way of why I don't give a damn about Drax in the Guardians movie or anything, because he's nothing. He's there for only just for laughs. He has no character, virtually no character now.
No,
and that is such a disservice to a character that was very interesting when he first came out. And for Finn, this guy was a stormtrooper. He was taken from his planet or from his people, and then he rebels. And imagine what they could have done with that.
Well, I still think he should have been force sensitive some way, and we are on a huge tangent. Let's go to our main topic for today's show, or this week's podcast, or whatever you want to call
What you
this.
gonna do?
What you gonna do for life? For life.
NWO.
That was just Hollywood Hogan's music. That wasn't the NWO music.
But he, like, when it came out, they would say that new world order.
New world order. Anyway, Bad Boys for Life. Okay, so did I text you saying like the opening of this movie was the most Michael Bay thing ever Michael Bay'd?
Yeah, except
Michael Bay had nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah. Well, I will say the most Michael Bay movie to ever Michael Bay opening was Six Underground.
Oh, absolutely. 100. Like on the 100 right there. So this film was directed by Adil and Bilal, I think is the name there. Written by Chris Bremer, Peter Craig, and Joe Carnahan. This is a sequel to the 2003 Bad Boys 2. It is the third installment, yet it's called Bad Boys for Life.
And
no comma.
If you see this movie, take a drink every time they say Bad Boys for Life in this movie.
Oh, yeah, right? I mean, your liver's going to be gone. So Will Smith is back. Martin Lawrence is back. Martin's Teresa Randall's back. The daughter's back. Reggie's back. That made me very excited that they found that actor to come back and be the baby daddy, eventually husband of Marcus's daughter there. I did like this movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I really did. But I like the first two Bad Boys movies. So,
see, I really liked the first Bad Boys movie. I did not like the second one at all. I didn't think
like
it was
them driving that like Humvee thing through like Cuba or wherever they were, like down the mountain. That was awesome.
That was straight Fast and Furious right there,
dude. But that was Fast and Furious like a decade before Fast and Furious did it. So
yeah, but no, like I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just wasn't a fan of it. This one had some of the positives I liked from the first one, but it also had some of the missteps, and there were some very janky editing at times from scenes that, like, where you jump from one thing to the next.
Yeah,
and it seems like something was cut out.
There's a lot of time jumps in this movie.
Yeah,
a lot of time jumps.
And it's one of those movies where I'm watching where I'm thinking, in better hands, this would have been so good.
I would have liked to see Michael Bay direct this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you see his cameo?
I did. I did. Yeah. So that was great. I thought he was the guy on the plane at first too. When they were in the row in front and behind of each other, and the guy that was sitting next to Mike Lowry. But yeah. Did you? Okay. So spoilers.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna jump to the one thing I wanted to talk about. Did you think they killed him?
They killed who?
Mike, when he got the drive-by.
Well, I didn't think so because I've seen the trailer, but at first that kind of shocked me because, again, he didn't get shot once or winged in the shoulder or what have you. I mean, dude, he got lit up.
I mean, he took 4 to the abdomen, chest area.
Yeah, so he got lit up, and again, we were talking about time jumps. It was just that started it right there, where he's in a hospital. You have Martin Lawrence's character, Marcus, praying, and again, Martin was good in the first two.
Martin Lawrence has not acted enough to keep up with his craft.
Did he come out of retirement for this?
I think so. And I've always been a Martin Lawrence fan. Like, Martin was an awesome sitcom on Fox back in the day. Marcus was a great Murtaugh character in the first two. He did not actually need to be Murtaugh like he was in this one. This movie was very reminiscent of Lethal Weapon 4.
That's actually a very good comparison.
It was Mexicans instead of Chinese. And it was very reminiscent of that, and it was recovering money and not like plates to forge money. But Yeah, I think like I did like this. I really did. I thought the action sequences were done really nicely. It's a great action
See,
movie.
so that again, I'm one of those, you know me, I can
Mm-hmm.
get picky with stuff.
Yep.
There are certain, like, first of all, what was his name? Armando.
Yeah.
But like the action sequences with him were really good.
Yeah.
Even though they sped up the camera at times, but it sped it up in the way of Mad Max Fury Road, if you remember.
Yeah. Oh
in
yeah.
the beginning when he was fighting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is a thing that they do in martial arts films and everything.
yeah.
So Jacob Scipio as Armando Artez. Dude, Jacob Scipio should be in like, let's get this dude his own action franchise as the hero.
100%, 100%.
Because as the bad guy, I was invested. I wanted to know what was going on with him. When things started going bad for him, I was like, "Oh man, don't know. What are you doing?" He
has that charisma that he has a bright future.
Like with the helmet and the
roles.
eyes, and the scene with on the Miami docks with the knife, the little Velociraptor claw knife.
Yeah, as Karen bit. I may have rewound that a couple times.
Yeah, I definitely. I was like, doot, doot, doot. Whoa.
But overall, like I did like the action, but there were again some of the action scenes. The climax, I did not like that. For the most part, don't get me wrong. For the most part, I thought the climax I didn't like how it was kind of structured in the sense of the gun battle.
Yeah.
But like in any scene with him in it, as far as action, was great.
Yeah.
But so the action was like the movie itself for me. It was up and down.
Yeah.
Like some stuff was really good, and then some stuff I'm like, oh, really? But what did you say before we started? We were talking about Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, dude, she needs an action franchise herself. I was shocked at how good she did with the action stuff, and looked like she'd been like toting heavy artillery weaponry around for her whole life, right?
She looked like she belonged.
Like I'll just go back to, you were talking about Kate Beckinsale before we started. Like in the first Underworld movie, like it was a good halfway through the movie before Kate Beckinsale really looked comfortable as a death dealer. And Vanessa Hudgens came like right out in that first scene in the garage where the dude got forklifted.
That's what. Yep.
Like I was like, damn. Like I know. Is she the one who's married to Nick Lachey?
I don't keep up with the Hollywood.
I'm not 100% sure, but oh wait, no, she's not. She can't be. No, she was just a singer. But yeah, I mean, but she's like a Disney kid, right?
Right.
She was in High School Musical, and here she turns around and is just badass in this movie, which was a surprise. And then on the flip side of that, they took Alexander Ludwig, who we're both huge fans of as Bjorn Ironside, and he was the tech guy, which was that was such a great like kind of flip on its head. And then Rafe was really cool. He was like Face from the A-Team.
Yes.
But then like you said, like I was waiting for that moment too, for Alexander Ludwig's character to cut loose, and we learned about why he was the tech guy. And when he does cut loose, he's like, when they're like, we'll pay for your therapy, he's like, good. I'm the way he looks, and goes, I'm really gonna need it. It was great.
And again, there's Paolo Nunez, who played Rita, who was a very good addition to the series.
All I gotta say is yellow dress. I'm gonna leave it at that, guys, ladies, gentlemen, people, whoever listens to this. Yellow dress. That's for everybody. That's just for all of us. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. That's what you need to say. You're welcome.
Yes.
So one of the other things I found an issue with was some of the jokes. I would say half the jokes for me just didn't land, or were just like, weren't necessary.
I think the reason for that is the time and place the first two movies were made in. They can't make the same kind of jokes.
Which again,
and they
part 2 had the same problem for me, at least.
well, right, but they kept trying to go up to that like
Yeah.
politically incorrect line,
Yeah.
and they never crossed it, and you could tell they were putting on the brakes, digging their heels into the dirt to stop from getting anywhere near the line.
Yeah, and also again, so as much as I like Thor Ragnarok, the one joke, like the joke that bothered me, not because it was bad, but it was because it was just mistimed for the situation, was when Asgard is falling apart, and then Korg makes the joke of, he's like, you can build it from its foundations, and then it crumbles.
As long as it has
gone.
a strong foundation, and then he's like, oh, sorry, no more. No, there's no foundation.
I didn't like that. That was mistimed. Another example is Infinity War, where Peter and Gamora are having that touching conversation, and then, even though it's funny, don't get me wrong, the Drax stand, and that's born a lot of memes online. That's a funny joke, but I didn't like it because it took away for the emotional impact. In this, when Mike finds out, spoiler, that Armando may be his son, he has a really good conversation with Martin or with Marcus. And Marcus makes a joke, which again, I understand that could be the way, they work together, but it took away from me from that scene, which is such a hard-hitting, powerful scene. That's when you need to dial back the jokes. Even if it's quote unquote in character, you still need to dial it back. You need to know when to say, let this moment breathe. Let this, and because that scene, I was not expecting that one bit.
No.
Talk about a swerve in a movie.
Right? Total. So I mean, these two are the two people who directed. They're Belgian film and television directors. They're a duo. It looks like Bad Boys is their first really big. Yeah, I mean they're announced to direct Beverly Hills Cop 4 now. It's like, great. I don't really. I've seen their version of Beverly Hills Cop with Bad Boys for Life. I don't need to see this. Yeah, they haven't done anything, and this is the first thing they directed that they didn't write. So again, like we talk about, like Captain Marvel, for example, there was a duo that did that who had only done like low budget indie stuff. Immature filmmakers, not like immature as in behavior, just immature filmmakers in the craft, like. Again, like I feel like if Michael Bay would have made this movie, it would have been a little bit different. And they definitely tried to do like an homage to Michael Bay with some of the shots, that sweeping
slow motion,
the slow-mo, but the sweeping shot when they're both like standing up or getting out of the car or whatever. That Porsche was amazing. I felt I feel like these guys nailed the car chases, right?
Yeah, the car chase was good.
The car chases were good. The motorcycle with the sidecar chase was good.
That was absolutely ridiculous, but that was fun.
But yeah, but it should be like that was the Hummer driving down
that's
through
what I mean.
the
that's a
favela
that's not a negative in this. Like, even though I was talking about leading some serious moments, this is overall not necessarily certain chase, like the chase scene. They don't need to be serious.
No, not at all.
They don't. They don't. They can be ridiculous.
Well, him bitching about having to use rubber bullets the whole time, and then when they did, and they shot Zuelo, which what an awesome name for a gangbanger, Zuelo. And Marcus keeps touching the big welt. Like I'm just really happy again. Like it seems to be the theme of kind of what I'm enjoying about movies lately is the restraint that big welt didn't pop.
I thought they were going to do that.
Like I thought he was going to get like pus all over him because he makes that pukey face anytime he sees blood. I hate saying this because I do like Martin Lawrence, but they should have killed Marcus. Because they kill a character. I don't know. Do we want to talk about who they kill, or should we kind of leave that?
Just leave it.
Okay, so they kill a character who's been in all the movies to this point, and I feel like it would have been a little more powerful if they had killed Marcus off. Plus, because sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, I think the reason why is allowing that crack of redemption for Armando's character.
Yeah, I can see that.
because I was thinking about that at the end when we went all Suicide Squad, which again, and when I the you know what I was thinking at the end of the movie when when Mike talks to Armando,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I was thinking? If they do another one, I want these two together. I don't need Martin.
We don't need Martin Lawrence at all. And to be honest, maybe we don't even need Will Smith.
Yeah, honestly,
like I think if you put him in Ammo with
I was
the
about
rest
to say
of
the
them,
Ammo.
and yeah,
I want more of them.
I did like.
I do want.
Yeah, I liked when they tried to sing Bad Boys. So, really funny. Real quick aside, as we're recording this, like Cops just got canceled, like a day ago, and we decided to watch this like out of the blue, like nothing to do with the announcement of Cops being canceled.
Well, it was because I said something about I have a Verizon reward, and this was one of the movies I was going to choose. So.
And I was like, hell yeah, I want to watch it anyway. So, but the Bad Boys song,
like
and with them trying to sing it, and they're like, whoa, don't ever do that again. That was a good moment.
Yeah.
The other thing, DJ Khaled. Let's stop putting DJ Khaled in movies.
What else was he in?
He's in Pitch Perfect 3. He's in a bunch. I mean, he's got a relatively big like cameo. Well, I guess that's not that big. He was in Pitch Perfect 3. He was a voice in. Okay, never mind. He's only been in a few things, but let's just stop putting him in. Like, enough is enough.
I will say I did laugh at that where he's like, "Did you get pig fat on my suit?"
Yeah, but I mean that could have been any. That could have just been an extra. It could have just been some big dude that they had. It did not need to be DJ Khaled. Because when I see him, all I see is DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
But anywho, yeah, this the Ammo group though with the kids, as I'm gonna call them, with
basically the kids. Yeah,
Kelly, Dorn, and Rafe. If we don't get a spin-off movie of them with Rita as the head, and then maybe they bring Armando in, and Will Smith definitely needs to be in that movie. Maybe he's in charge of Ammo now since she got promoted
to captain. Yeah.
Now you spoiled it. We weren't going to spoil it, and you spoiled it.
I failed.
And I don't edit. I mean, I edit, but I'm not going to go back and edit that out. So anyway, so I think this is the direction. So much like Mission Impossible Fallout, it is a natural ending of the Ethan Hunt as an agent tale, right? And they're not doing this moving forward because Tom Cruise is a psychopath who wants to die doing a stunt. I'm 100%. Yeah, Ethan Hunt should be moved into the director role. It shouldn't be Angela Bassett. It should be Ethan Hunt, and then Rebecca Ferguson should be moved into the head IMF agent role. In this, so Rita's moved up to the captain of the Miami-Dade Police Force. Will should be moved, or Mike Lowry should be moved into the lieutenant role in charge of Ammo, where he's not always out in the field. And then Armando is in there, and Kelly and Dorn and Rafe are the new Bad Boys team. And you can still keep it with the Bad Boys thing. Marcus is off in retirement. You can bring Martin Lawrence back a little bit in the movies.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, let's say 5 minutes of screen time total.
That's perfect.
Pay him $10 million to do 5 minutes. Like, perfect. I'm all for him getting to work like that. So yeah. I will say I thought Armando wasn't really the villain in this movie though.
No.
He was the what is it? He was the word in the will of La Bruja. His mom, who was so you mentioned Suicide Squad before. She was a depowered enchantress in this movie. And she was just as bad as that villain.
Yeah, pretty much. And it starts off with her escape from prison, which was probably one of the most poorly conceived in the sense of that would never happen. Escapes.
Yeah.
It was just they could have done something better.
Yeah. I agree with you in that the scene where the ambulance is just kind of out in the middle of the field where they threw the Molotov cocktail at the window. It's like, why are you doing this on a soundstage?
Yeah.
Like that, it completely took me out of the movie.
100%.
So
100%.
But yeah.
So this is a perfect example of her character could have been very captivating, but like you said, it's a Enchantress, a bad like depowered version of Enchantress.
Yeah.
That again, we all know how bad Enchantress was.
I mean, and because she was a fine actor. Like she did with what she had, she did well. Like I'm not blaming her for it being a poorly written character.
Not at all.
Just like we'll go back to Star Wars. Like I don't blame Kelly. Oh shoot, Rose, Kelly Tran.
Kelly Tran,
yeah. I don't blame Kelly Tran for Rose being a bad character. That wasn't her fault. She did fine. No. She was likable. Like you liked her. You rooted for her, like when you needed to root for her. It's just the writing made her not good. Again, and that was the case with Isabel here. Is she could have been this amazing matriarchal character. Do you ever see Savages?
Yes.
With Tim Riggins and Quicksilver and Blake Lively.
Tim Riggins. I love how you always call him Tim Riggins.
Like
Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor Kitsch and Aaron Taylor Johnson and Blake Lively. So looking at the role that not Sandra Bullock. Oh shoot. The lady from Desperado, brain farts.
Oh,
Selma Hayek. Selma Hayek.
Yeah, Selma Hayek. Yeah. I was thinking, like when I saw her, I'm thinking of
anyway,
Dust Till Dawn.
So Selma Hayek is an amazing villainess in Savages, and she's the savage, right?
Yeah,
she's the one who's savage, and Isabella was not, and her need for Mike to be killed last when. They were never dropping any kind of clues like anyone involved in this case is getting knocked off. It wasn't until they were all dead that Mike just was like, oh, wait a second. Oh, yeah, no, I did this whole thing, Marcus. We've been together for 25 years, but 24 years ago, I did this thing. I don't know if you caught that. That little continuity error. But that kind of bothered me. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, like she was so she was pitted as like with her Prison Break, this very methodical, savage, just leader, and and it turned out like she was just a scorned lover, and that reduced your word gravitas of that character greatly, and it didn't need to be that way.
It made her two-dimensional,
and it didn't even make her two-dimensional. It made her one-dimensional. There was no other dimension. She was just scorned.
I mean, if anything, she should have been more upset of him putting her in prison and then not being able to be with their son. Something along those lines.
Yeah,
and then,
why her ex-husband was even brought into it, other than the fact that that's why she was in jail, because he was her driver and he used her. Of course, without that, we didn't get the great line from Marcus about like, oh, that's why you dress like and walk like a drug dealer. Because she taught him the trade and everything. So, yeah, it's I don't know. I think it. As much as I do like this movie, like it's a problematic movie for sure. It's
absolutely.
What is it? It's the trilogy we didn't know we wanted. We had the Bill and Ted teaser trailer come out, 30 years late for a trilogy, just like this one's 20 years late for a trilogy. Do we need to keep revisiting these movies? Like not just Bad Boys, but I'm talking about like these movies that did part 1 and part 2, and in the incessant need to do everything in threes. Thank you, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
for really hammering all of that home. But was this movie necessary? Absolutely not.
No. Not
Will
at all.
I watch this movie again? 100%.
Yeah, I'll watch it again.
I'm actually excited because Bad Boys 1 and 2 are on Netflix, and probably over the next few days, I've got like four episodes left in my rewatch of Blue Mountain State. I'm probably gonna go watch Bad Boys and then Bad Boys 2 and then watch this one again.
I might watch I'll watch Bad Boys. I don't know. I'll probably watch Bad Boys 2 just because I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
I've watched Bad Boys, the first one. I don't even know how many times I've seen that.
Oh, yeah, that's like we wore the VHS tape of that guy out. But yeah, it's just like I said, it's one of those things where it's a fine movie. It probably should have been different directors. The script needed a little bit of punching up, or at the very least, a little bit more continuity and not so jumpy the way it was.
Right.
But yeah, it's I don't know. Like if I'm rating it right, I'm gonna give it, I don't know, a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably go 5.5.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that's on a good day.
I will say it looked great. It looked really good. I thought it sounded really good. I liked the it did carry over that Michael Bay like dun 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 like song, which is in this one, and it was in Con Air, and it was in The Rock, and I don't think it was in, so interesting. But yeah, it was, I mean, it's fine. And so this is there's a bunch of cool production stuff about this though. So they started they greenlit this in 2018. Joe Pantoliano they talked, he was come back as Captain Howard. And then Katie Del Callisto joined in early 2019, and then Teresa Randall came back as Teresa, Marcus's wife, which was great. They actually filmed most of this in Atlanta, so yay, tax credits. Shooting took place in Mexico City, and they did some work in Miami. It wrapped in June of 2019, so there weren't a ton of special effects, but like you could tell they actually took their time with this. Nothing in this movie felt like it was rushed.
Yeah, it felt more like it was more from, like you said, a script perspective, not an actual filming perspective that needed work and directing. But it's one of those movies that if I would have bought it, I'd have been a little bit annoyed. It wouldn't have been like X-Men Last Stand pissed off that I bought the movie. It would have been more like, I bought this movie. But
so you got it for free. I got it for $10.99. I was more than happy. Like after watching it,
I'll watch it again.
$10.99 was a fine price to pay for this. But yeah. Let's see. So this was another one that was resolved around the Corona-cation closing of theaters in mid-March. It was released on 4K Ultra HD. Oh wait, hold on, let me see. It came out. Where'd my link go? Oh, there it is. All right, sorry. Here we go. It was released in January of 2017. It made almost $500 million box office. It was a $90 million budget. So, like I said, it looked good. They made it for cheap. It did well. It did well enough that I think Sony would be stupid not to do another one.
Again, I really, like you said this earlier as well. I really want one with the ammo folks being more centric, not like the Expendables where the new kids in the Expendables actually have to get rescued. But the kids from Ammo, and like you said, have Mike being running that, have Rita being the liaison for the police department
Like,
and what have you.
I think if you want to look at a movie, look at the Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper A-Team, right? Let's do something like that where they're solving a bunch of different crimes and then they get caught up in an overarching like villain who's coming for them.
And when they have to do bad stuff, bring in Armando.
Yeah, it could be like but it could be like Cole Hauser's character from Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious could be the bad guy, right? And just kind of loop them into the same universe. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, this one, it did. I mean, $19 million worldwide for this against 90 million is huge.
I did not know it did that well.
Yeah, it did. What was it? Where'd it go? Yeah, it did 23.5 million its first day, and that included the 6.36 million on the Thursday night previews. And that's like for this movie a $68 million opening. Like, I don't.
That's good.
Like, this was never going to be a $150 million opening. I think. If I had to guess, I would think this movie probably was tracking around 50 to open. And, to do that, the 3-day debut was 62 million. And, it was the second best opening for, whatever holiday was around March 21st, Easter. Or February was, President's Day. But yeah, it's a fine movie. It's a fun movie. It made it. We're lucky that it made it to digital release much faster, like, because it gave us something to watch due to the pandemic and Corona-cation. I personally think this is one. It was Martin Luther King weekend. Sorry. I think this is one of those movies where they could release this as in theaters and VOD at the same time, and it would do gangbusters. Like, it would probably do another, $400 million worldwide in the theater, and it would probably do another like $200 million worldwide just from the VOD stuff to buy for $20 at the same time.
Yeah.
For people who
buy,
are afraid
not
to go
rent.
out. Yeah, no, none of this rent for $20. Like, that's just
So
greedy.
stupid.
That's greedy bullshit. So yeah, I mean, this went up against Doolittle, which. Oh yeah, right here. It was initially projected to do $35 to $45 million, and it did 67 in its 3-day open. So yeah, it's good. The critical responses are mostly positive. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 77%, which I know we don't put a ton of stock, but it's a metric. Lots of action. It says, let's see, the website's critic consensus reads, loaded up with action and a double heaping of leading man charisma. Bad Boys for Life reinvigorates the long dormant franchise by playing squarely into its strengths. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, CinemaSin audiences gave, or not CinemaSin, CinemaScore audiences gave it an A, on an A+ to F scale. So, and that was equivalent to the first two films. They got A's. Post-Track gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. 73% of respondents say they would definitely see it again. The Todd McCarthy from The Hollywood Reporter says the third time really is a charm. The two directors roll with ease between raucous comedy and raw drama to considerable effect, just as they crank up the tension on a number of occasions, occasionally with palpable visceral impact. I don't think the directors did that awesome of a job. I think that's the weak part of this film is the direction and a little bit of the writing. But I also think because Will Smith is just a goddamn treasure, and Martin Lawrence is great. He's got amazing comedic timing, and Joey Pants is awesome. That those three saved a lot of it with just being as professional as they are.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I did like the change in Smith's character. At first, I didn't think they were going. I still think they could have done a little bit better job with him as far as his growth from being shot and trying to deal with that. it's touched on a little bit, not enough for me. But overall, I think he really shined in that conflict he has when he figures out that this guy might be his son.
Yeah.
That was when Will Smith really just captured his character.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And then there's the sequel. So it says following opening weekend box office success, the film, Sony announced plans for a fourth installment with Chris Bremner returning to write the script. So I think that's all good news. I think this can be a very vibrant franchise. I think they can probably get 3 more movies out of this, especially if they focus on the ammo kids.
Yeah, and do it. I mean, you look at Fast and Furious. Who would have thought this would get 7, 8, 9 movies? And I mean, they keep reinventing themselves.
Right, but I don't think they have to. So here's the nice thing, right? Is Will Smith and Martin Lawrence got the shit kicked out of them, right?
Yeah.
It's like Die Hard got to the point where John McClane was a superhero, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious got to the point where they're all superheroes and they don't lose fights. Like, yes, yeah. Michelle Rodriguez, you can definitely tell is a badass, right? But there's no way in consecutive films that Gina Rodriguez is gonna beat Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey in consecutive films. It just doesn't. When she beat up Ronda Rousey was peak UFC, baddest woman on the planet. When she beat Gina Carano in Fast 6, Gina Carano was still considered a badass woman. So yeah,
Vin Diesel in all of his fights, especially the one with The Rock.
Oh, in Fast 5.
Yeah, where The Rock has him. I think it was in a Kimura. I was like, look, you're not getting out of that, you're not overpowering a guy like that in that position. You're
not overpowering anybody in that position for the most part because of the leverage.
Unless you're a monster and that person is smaller than you, and that's going to be difficult. Right. But someone that's bigger than you, stronger than you,
and is laying on top of you while they have you in that role,
you're not getting out of that like the way he did. So.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah, but they were superheroes.
Yeah,
so.
It's too much. It really is too much. But yeah. So no, like I said, I'm excited to see this continue. Anything that brings more Alexander Ludwig to our screen, is great. Charles Melton, who was Rafe, like I said, was surprisingly good because, I did like when he was like, "How do you know?" and he's like, your mom or whatever. The mom joke there was funny.
And I like how that came back at the end too, where they finally kind of.
Yeah. So he is, and this movie is on HBO, or might still be on HBO.
The son is also a star.
Yeah, the son is also a star. He's the lead, the male lead in that. So I'm definitely going to check that out because I want to see more with him in it.
And he was in Riverdale, which you don't need to check out.
I never watched Riverdale, so
they lost me. Anyway.
It looks like he was in 2 episodes of American Horror Story Hotel, and he was in an episode of Glee. Speaking of Riverdale, I watched. We're done with Bad Boys, right? We're good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I watched the final season of 13 Reasons Why, and I've enjoyed that show the whole time. Right? I don't know why. It's just this weird. Soapy.
It's just one of those you enjoy. Yeah.
I think it's because I like Dylan Minetti, who plays Clay. I think he would be a fantastic young Cyclops. Anyway, or he would be a fantastic young like Dick Grayson Robin pre-Nightwing.
I think I could see that more actually.
Yeah. Anyway, because he's kind of jacked. Like there was a scene where he like took his like sweater or shirt off, whatever, and he was all ripped, and like the girl was like, "Whoa." So that there were a lot of really like interesting beats that happened in a show that finished filming 6 months ago with our world today. And if you haven't watched any of it, don't just don't watch it. I mean, it's very depression heavy and mental health and things like that. And there's lots of trigger stuff in there. So, but if you haven't watched it, like definitely check out the 4th season. It goes out with a very interesting, controversial end, which came from out of left field, and probably shouldn't have been ended the way it ended. But I feel like it was an interesting ending to a very controversial show where Netflix has put a lot. I mean, this was like 13 Reasons was one of the Netflix tentpole series.
Yeah, it's been 4 seasons?
Yeah, 4 seasons. And I mean, but every season it got plenty of mainstream coverage because of the subject matter. So, but if you have kids, there's an episode that deals with the school shooting drills and things like that. I think that might be an important one to watch and talk to your kids about, just because I know my daughter's school does these lockdown drills, which I would think were terrifying. And the lockdown drill that they do in this, like, I do think I talked to the kid about it after watching it. Like, hey, tell me more about these drills. And yeah, so that's really all I wanted to touch on there. So
yeah, I've never watched that show.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, Netflix edited part of the first season. They took out the girl's suicide, like, because they show her kill herself, like the slitting her wrist and laying into the bathtub and just kind of fading away. And it was this beautifully powerful, like, traumatic, horrible scene. And some group complained about it, and Netflix took it out. And it's like, why? Don't, like, no, like, you're censoring art. You're censoring something that.
Don't do this.
Yeah.
This is what you do. And again, as much as I have a issue with HBO temporarily pulling Gone with the Wind, what they're doing, I can understand that. Put a warning. Hey, this happens in here. There's a scene of graphic X, Y, or Z. If you're easily offended or easily triggered,
they do this before every episode. Every episode of it has this warning.
So there you go.
Yeah. So even like, and like, you could do a closed caption thing underneath, like, hey, skip ahead to this time. Like, if you want to skip this scene, click here. Like, so that's something they could do.
And again, this is going back. Did you ever play Modern Warfare 2?
No.
Okay, so there is a scene when they call no Russian, and I'm going to spoil it. And this is very controversial. So this is in 2010.
Yeah.
And it's a scene where you're the character going undercover with this Russian guy that he's a bad guy. So you go in undercover with him and his group, and they go into this Russian airport, and all he says on the elevator.
No, I've heard about that.
He's like, remember, no Russian. And they shoot up the airport.
Yeah.
But before the game starts, it says there is a very intense scene. If you want to skip it, you can hit yes or no. And I think they do it before it, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I know before, and that was like 2010, nowadays, which, no, it's surprising. They actually did the remastered version and they didn't censor it, which I was actually, and it just came out a couple months ago.
Very cool. So. All right. Well, hey, on that downer of a note, make sure to check us out at infamouspodcast.com. Check out our presenting sponsor this week, CBS All Access. There's a ton of great content on there right now, and you can get a week free with going to infamouspodcast.com/CBS. And, if you want to help us out, you like what you hear, check out our Patreon. That is the best way to support the show outside of 5-star reviews on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. And as always, like, if you want to have us talk about anything or whatever, you can reach out to contact@infamouspodcast.com or hit us up on social. I've been trying to share more on Instagram. I don't know if you noticed, Darryl, I've been sharing memes lately. Actually, I've been taking all the memes I typically email you, and I'm starting to put them on Instagram.
I've had a kind of a break from social media, Instagram, which I think I'm going to kind of try to wean my way back into it.
Yeah.
So
I've been trying to do just kind of funny memes.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Mostly based around Star Wars. Let's like be honest. That's my life. Oh, I rewatched the 4th season of Rebels as well. Over the last few days, I can't not say that it didn't get dusty. pretty much
like,
the whole time.
I'm thinking about a certain scene right now, and I'm just like, oh man,
dude, the entire like last episode with what Ezra does there with the Purrgil, like, like, so when Angel watches A Star Is Born, she like essentially starts crying like 15 seconds into the movie, right? Like, that's how I was for that like whole episode. I'm like, not Ezra. Not him. Why? Anyway, but yeah. All right. On that note, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you, or well, you'll hear us next week. You won't see us. And maybe Darryl will actually come into the studio for a change.
Maybe.
Since
You never know.
Since we're allowed to, socially undistance a little bit.
I've been shaking people's hands since March, so I just go up to random people in stores and they look at me weird. No, just kidding.
Well, I told you, I just walk up and lick people on the cheek, so, you know. I do have a friend that I see at the gym now, and he always, like, reaches out to shake my hand, and I always shake it, like, just out of, like I'm like, and I shake it, and I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that, but.
You're going to be asked to leave one of these days at the gym. They're going to be like, I'm sorry, sir, you're going to have to leave.
That's not why I'm going to be asked to leave at the gym, but. Anyway, on that note, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @InfamousPodcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Later.